Hello?
You want to watch a movie?
Who is this?
Yeah, Joe. I'm gonna get you to watch some movies.
I'm gonna hear that in my nightmares. Oh my god, that was done way too well.
You're gonna get calls from me like this.
Oh my god, no, please, please no.
Mommy, what's the matter? Mommy, why does that girl keep telling me I shouldn't go there?
Giallo parlante.
I'm talking to you. Bob! Bob!
To him who opened the seven gateways to heaven, because through them
Proprio un altro filo notte.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. I am Scott, and with me, as always, is Joe.
Hey everybody. So I'm excited about this.
Yeah, well, this is my favorite show to do, Talking Trash.
Talking trash.
And this is Talking Giallo.
Talking Giallo.
Yeah, for the whole month, we gave Joe the control, and she picked Giallo films as the month theme. And we are on the final movie of the month.
July or Giallo July. That's what we're calling it.
Oh, yeah, that's what we're calling it now?
Giallo July.
I've been calling it Talking Giallo this whole time. Yeah. We actually knew the theme song. I switched it to Italian, the name of our show, and I wish I remember how to say Talking Giallo in Italian. I can't remember now.
No.
But yeah, this
I'll
is
look it
the
up.
fourth film, and if you're new to the show, Talking Trash is where we watch bad movies and we discuss it, so you don't have to. And I love this show because I love to talk out crazy, insane films that I either like because they're so bad they're good, or I just can't stand them. And yeah, and the running joke this month is that I'm not the biggest fan of Giallo, and Joe absolutely loves putting them on and trying to get me to like them.
I myself don't know if I really truly like them. I'm just kind of infatuated with them for some reason.
The subgenre of horror that is Giallo is baffling to me. And I love that there's a group of people who adore this stuff.
I mean, it's a whole fan base.
It's
crazy.
such a huge fan base. It's almost to the point of you're not supposed to be a horror fan if you don't like this kind of stuff.
But not all of these films are horror films. Some of them
They're
are
horror films.
mysteries. They're thrillers, but I wouldn't say horror.
There's always a killer slashing people. It's a thriller horror film.
I mean, I guess.
I'm sorry, and that means that Scream isn't a horror movie.
Yeah, all
That,
right.
that kind of to me, thrillers are usually it's a base of horror movies that I actually like a lot. Picking out who the killer is, all that kind of stuff. But these movies are so friggin' weird. All the choices are bizarre. And I'm a little mad because on our first episode of this month, I said that I was going to make a list and see if every one of these movies can check this list off. Because I have a list of what I think Giallo films do. And we actually forgot about it within the last one. But I wrote a little list of a few things that I think all Giallo films usually have, right? Number one was close up on the eyes. This movie checked it off. Black trench coat killer. Again, checked off. Chain smoking cops. Checked off again. Killer uses phone calls. Only see black hand and coat. Like a black gloved hand. This didn't happen here. Prostitutes are murdered. Women get brutally murdered. Switchblades. An artist. Paint drips on a victim. Killer has a sexual traumatic childhood. Rock, jazz, or synthwave. Dogs. Priest is the killer. Or Police can't solve a damn thing on their own.
Well, okay, so that goes pretty much with all of the ones that we've watched this
Yeah,
month.
5 of those weren't checked off on this movie tonight.
5 of those. Okay, well, we should tell everyone that we watched The New York Ripper.
The New York Ripper, which I'm a little mad, all right? After seeing this film, I'm really mad because one of my favorite things about Giallo films are their titles are usually full sentences. Sometimes they almost feel like they're going to be a paragraph. And I just love that they have the balls to name it. And I'm a little mad because The New York Ripper is too tame.
I feel like it is, yeah,
Yeah.
especially for this particular director who's Lucio Fulci.
Which
Again,
we've done many times now on the
yes,
show.
and he's on my list twice. So we actually just before this we watched Don't Torture a Duckling, and that's also by Fulci, and that was something. But I did manage to get out of the 70s. So I went from the 3 movies in the beginning that were the 70s to 1982.
Yeah.
So this is
Unfortunately, Fulci couldn't get out of the 70s.
Well, he didn't get the memo
No,
that
he
you're
didn't
not
get the
supposed
memo.
to use that music that's like 1970s porno, like elevator
it's jazz.
slash.
Again, a lot of jazz.
It's beyond it. It sounds like a 70s
See,
porno.
you just mentioned another Fulci movie, The Beyond.
The Beyond.
And I know it was accidental, but The Beyond actually had a very interesting theme that kind of felt that horror vibe. This movie is just using saxophone and jazz
Yes, it is.
from the 70s.
Yes. And even though this is about a slasher, I did not feel that way for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah. Now, what would you, if you could name this movie after seeing it and thinking it's Giallo, what would you name it? Because I'm sitting here thinking of my title for this movie.
Okay. I would say
I'm putting you on the spot.
The Sex Caller Quacks Twice.
Oh, that's great. I was thinking like,
The Sex Caller Quacks Twice.
yours is good. I was just gonna go for something simple like murder isn't what it's cracked up to be.
Oh my.
But, yeah, I mean,
Oh God. Well, anyone who's seen this movie knows what we're talking about.
we're talking about the New York Ripper, and I gotta tell you, okay, so there's gonna be 2 feelings that I'm usually gonna have in one of these movies. First off is the movie isn't going to be entertaining enough to make fun of, or 2, it's so insane that I can't wait to talk about it. And I think I'm falling toward that second one. So I'm happy. Because right when the killer called somebody for the first time, I was like, you did it again, Joe. Somehow, back to back. Death laid an egg in this one. What the fuck are we watching?
Okay,
Like,
so I feel like this movie should have been called Death Laid an Egg.
yes.
I feel like he kind of like...
Okay, so let's stop hinting around to it because we're just going to throw it out there. The killer talks like Donald Duck in this film.
Yes. Like the whole voice that Scott did in the beginning of this podcast, that he calls people in that Donald Duck voice.
It's not full Donald Duck because
No.
he'll go from this. He'll go,
How you doing? I'm gonna get you.
and then he'll go, like, what the fuck?
I can't even do that. So I'm
He
proud
does a
of
whole
you.
bunch of them. It's so crazy. It's
Yeah.
Stupid. You gotta even think of.
every
We
time it
looked at each
happened,
other, we're
I
like-
died laughing every time. I was like, what?
That's exactly what you wanted out of these movies.
Absolutely.
So
you lucked me
You
into
got,
another one
it's
by
completely
accident.
quackers.
Do you remember that? There's a running joke between me and Joe. We went to see, we didn't go to see it. We actually rented it one time, and it was that really depressing movie with Ryan Gosling,
Oh, The Notebook.
The Notebook. And there's a scene where
Yeah.
he takes her on a really romantic boat into the lake, and there's a whole bunch of ducks. And this is supposed to be a romantic moment, and I just turned to Joe to ruin it, and I go, "This movie's quackers."
I don't think I stopped laughing for 2 hours.
We've been saying it forever, and it's depressing. It's romantic and depressing, And I was like, I'm gonna ruin it. So yeah, we've been doing that joke for way too long
It's
now.
quackers.
So
So yeah, this movie's definitely So it falls under the same, category and kind of the same feel as most of Fulci's movies, with the exception of Zombie 3. I mean, this one,
Beyond too,
I
they
feel like
totally different.
it did have like a skeevy, filthy factor. And I felt like in the Beyond, it had that skeevy, filthy, like thing going on where like you didn't want to like look away, but you felt like you had to because your eyeballs are getting muddy. That's the way I felt like watching this movie. There's a lot of skeeve in this movie, and it had that filth factor a little bit.
That's a problem. Did he also direct the one we call Hot Sacks? There's a movie we
What
watched.
is that movie called? I keep forgetting it.
I think it's called Sweet Honey or something like that.
No, The Devil's Honey.
Devil's Honey. Is that him?
Wait, I think you're right.
So
yeah.
we do a get together. If you listen to our Fast and the Furious episodes with our friends, they all join us on Monday nights, and we all randomly pick films to watch. And I put on a movie called Devil's Honey,
And that's Fulci as well.
and we just all called it Hot Sacks the whole time. And I guess that's a problem because there's a sexuality in his movies that feels like he's got some problems. He needs to talk to a therapist.
Yeah, I feel like that too. Like in what we call hot sacks, there's a lot of like perverse things going on in that movie where you just don't need to see it because it's just gross. But
Yeah, but this movie also has
this movie, oh my God.
it has those problems because
Yeah.
everybody involved in this movie is got a sexual like
a hang up, some kind of like sexual
yeah,
fetish.
a fetish. Yeah, it's a big fetish movie where every character's got something. And even characters who don't need to tell us that they have a sexual fetish have sexual fetishes that feel like they're just thrusted at you, and you're like, "Oh, why was that put there?"
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is Talking Trash. If you're new, we're gonna talk out the plot of the movie in spoiler detail, and we're gonna trash it, and we're gonna talk shit, and we're gonna joke around. So hopefully you join it and have fun with us. So yeah,
Yeah, I feel like this one though. All right, we did 4. This is the 4th one. It's
yeah.
It's different from the other ones we watched a little bit.
Not
in a,
much.
In a tiny way, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this movie,
Well,
Okay.
it starts off with we're in New York.
yeah, which we don't get all the time.
Yeah.
In Giallo movies.
Yeah, which we were talking about. There's I think Zombie.
Zombie
I think
3.
in Zombie, I don't know, not Zombie 3, but I think the first Zombie.
That was definitely in America. I don't know where.
Because it was in New York again. It was the harbor, and
Was it?
there was like a zombie on a boat, and the girl got on the
That's right.
boat.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's the only other time I can remember that we've seen one of his movies that was. But I think Beyond is also in America. I think it's like in Louisiana or something.
You know what? You're right. It is because we were always joking that The Beyond is supposed to be in Louisiana, but there's so many elements that scream, no, it's not in Louisiana.
Yeah, there's a lot of questionable things in that
A
one.
lot of questionable things. Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah, but we started off in New York, and of course we have the music.
the sweet jazz.
It's like it doesn't feel like it's going to be a horror movie, and all the themes. I think that's a big problem with me. I think one of the reasons that some of these movies work for me is that the soundtrack or the score is its own being, and it kind of makes you feel a certain way. And I think I've talked about Argento nailing that with some of the people from Goblin. Did a lot of soundtracks for him, and the scores were pretty damn good, and they made the movie even elevated. Mm-hmm. And then you see like a movie like this, and you're like, man, you really needed to do a theme. A creepy theme, something really weird. not smooth jazz from the 70s.
I mean, it doesn't fit. It just, like I said, it seems like... So we get an opening shot of a young girl riding a bike, right?
No, let's go back. We got to talk about balls.
Oh, God, balls. Okay. I forgot about the balls.
Oh, yeah. So this movie opens up the New York cityscape. We scroll down. We hear someone talking. And then we slowly start seeing a man who I would have thought was homeless, but he starts talking about how he was working behind a counter for 8 hours and he's tired.
And he has a dog with him.
He has a dog, of course, because it's Giallo. They have to have a dog. And he looks on the ground and he sees a stick. And he reaches down to get the stick. And we had to rewind this because we thought he said, "Oh, my balls."
He did say that. I don't care.
But he says, "My bones."
No, he did. There's no N in there. He says balls.
Well, the problem is, I guess this needs to be said right off the bat, because these Giallo films, they're all overdubbed. Now, he records the films. All these directors did was they recorded the people speaking their actual language. And then he had them, it basically overdubbed all of them into the language of choice.
But here's the thing. Okay, this movie we watched on Shudder. You can go on Shudder. I want someone to write to me on Instagram and tell me if that's what he's saying. When he bends over to pick up the stick, he says, "Oh, my balls."
The reason I'm bringing up the overdubbing is because the overdubbing is probably somebody who talks another language, but is doing a voice, like an American accent, and they're making it so weird. They always sound like they have an accent.
So you're saying that a European actor actually was told to be an American actor, and so
he's like, "Oh, my balls."
Do an American accent. Okay.
"Oh, my balls."
Yeah, there was clearly an LS in there.
Yeah, want to get some exercise? Oh, my balls. Oh, my balls.
All right, whatever.
Whatever. But the best part about this is we know where this is going. Like, instantly knew where this was going.
Yeah, he's throwing the stick for his dog, and he throws it in a bush, and the dog brings back the stick, although it's not a stick. It is a severed hand.
Of course.
And so that's where the movie starts.
Well, it freeze frames on the hand in the dog's mouth. It's a very corny looking hand.
It's a Fulci hand.
And it's a woman's hand because it has painted red fingernails, like long nails. And it pauses on that, and we have to look at it through the entire credit scene while they're playing smooth jazz to it.
I was like, oh,
or
God.
the 70s funk, or like...
No, it was not funk. It was definitely elevator music.
It's just that is over a dog holding a severed hand.
Right. It should have been like more like freakish, like some kind of like or something like that. Like not exactly like Jason Voorhees or anything, but I'm just saying something a little bit more like creepy.
Well, when you think the opening of Friday the 13th, since you bring that up, and they're shooting the names at you and they're playing that amazing theme, it's pretty incredible. And when you see something like this, that's just very stale font on a picture of a dog holding a hand, and it's just playing this music, my first thought is, what the fuck is this going to be? Like not even an ounce of creativity in the shot. There's nothing to it. It's just this really stale opening. But yes, right from here, we don't ever go back to that character and his dog. We don't really talk about that ever again.
No, because it just sets up there's somebody murdering people in the city.
Kind of, yeah.
After the old man, his dog brings him the hand. Cut to the police station after this, when there's this old lady and she's annoying and she has curlers in her hair. She's one of those neighbors, and she's
talking about the hand.
Yeah, she's talking about the hand.
The person whose hand, I guess it was.
Yeah, and she says, "I know this person. She lives next door to me. She went out last night at 7:00 p.m. and she didn't come back, as far as I know."
Well, she says, "I listened to the phone call." Well, she said she didn't listen. She's like, "Oh, I heard the phone call," and he's like, "This is where we're basically introduced to our main cop character, and he's just miserable." Yeah,
he's a chain-smoking, miserable cop.
Yeah,
he's a cliche.
He basically is like, how did you hear the phone call? And she's like, "Oh, it's not that I was listening in." But anyways, the caller was really strange because he talked like a duck. And he's like, "Talk like a duck?" And she said, "Yeah, like quack, 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 quack." And he's like, she goes, "But not like that, but different."
from this person. Strangest voice I ever heard. Sort of like a duck.
Like a duck.
Quack, quack, quack. Just like that. Not that he said quack, quack, quack. But that was a tone. And he made an appointment to meet her.
Yeah, huh?
And then he's like, okay.
Yeah, she gave
whatever.
him some bullshit like, oh, our lines sometimes get crossed.
Yeah,
and
she's
so
lying. She's like, oh,
Yeah.
God forbid. And
Yeah.
of course, she's in her curlers, moo and smoking a cigar through one of those filters.
Yeah, she was just...
Yeah.
She was like embodied the, elderly, annoying neighbor.
Yeah.
And so this is where we get the first hint that obviously there's a murderer around.
How did you feel when you first heard this girl say he talks like a duck? You just thought, oh, he has a weird voice that's going to be like
Yeah.
weird type
Yeah,
of
like
thing?
I thought that it was, a pitchy voice or something.
Yeah,
I didn't think
weird, or
like,
he stutters or something.
Yeah, I didn't think it was
Yeah.
a literal.
So that's the thing. Before, like he said, little duck. No duck talks like that.
No duck talks.
Thank you. They don't even make sounds like that, really.
Like not even Howard the Duck talk like that.
Yeah. Can you imagine if he did? It would be weird.
Yeah, I would last 5 seconds.
So yeah. But they basically send her out, and he's just like, oh God, I can't talk to these women. These quackpot women.
You said quackpot.
Oh my God, I did. I didn't say crackpot. I said quackpot. I like quackpot. We should have named the movie that. We should have been Murder for a Quackpot.
Did you not do
didn't
that on
know.
purpose?
I didn't know.
You literally said quackpot.
I guess my mind is all wrapped up in puns that I couldn't remember.
Oh my God, I love it.
I love it.
That is the best thing.
Oh
my God.
What a trip.
How did you do that?
I don't even know. That's when we get a shot of a woman that you were mentioning.
Oh, yeah, no, she's riding a bicycle.
Bike, and she's got short shorts, and she's riding the bike.
It's the 80s.
It's the 80s. Yeah. And we're following her. She's riding in traffic on her bicycle. And she decides to stop at the last minute right against this guy's red car.
And she scratches the car
She
with her
scratches
bike.
it up pretty bad.
I was like, okay, first of all, what are you doing? You had like so much room to go around.
Yeah.
But she decides that she stops her bike there, and it looks like she kind of stumbles, like she was like falling off.
Yeah, she's falling off.
And so she hits the car with her bike, and the guy starts yelling at her.
Well, Bobby Moynihan character comes out.
Oh, from SNL. Yeah, he reminded me of that.
He's like him doing a character, comes out of this car, and this guy's like the biggest jackass. Now, this girl's a pretty girl, and you're a guy. You're gonna be a little like more gentle about everything. But this guy's like the biggest asshole on the earth.
God damn it! Why can't you watch where you're going?
Sorry, I was thinking of Boston. The bar only streak. It'll rub off in a second.
You women should stay home where you belong. You're a menace to the public. And you've got the brains of a chicken.
And you're an asshole. Ciao.
He's like telling her, you have the brain of a chicken, and you need to get back. You need to stay home where you belong.
But because these are not American actors or like American overdubbers, he says your brain's like a chicken. First off, no American's gonna say that, right?
No.
And then she says chow.
Yeah.
And I was like, can we pretend that we're in America?
No.
I mean, like you're American at all? And even the overdubber saying chow. But she says, like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was in Boston.
She said she was having dreams of being in Boston. Daydreams of being in Boston.
What is that?
I don't know. I don't even know why that's relevant.
I thought she said the turn. She wasn't used to the turn in New York.
Oh, maybe.
And she said, I forgot I'm not in Boston. That's what I thought.
It made no sense, but it seemed like they set up this character for a purpose. No.
Because this is one of these films. This is how these go. It turns out they're all going to the same place. They're going to the ferry. They're all going to drive onto the ferry, and they're going to, they drive the cars onto it, which I've never done in my whole life.
Oh, and the Staten Island Ferry?
Yeah.
Yeah, I might have done that when I was with my parents when I was a little kid.
Ever doing it, yeah.
But yeah, I don't remember. But
yeah, they all go on it, and it turns out the guy that she scraped the car went on there too, and she rides her bicycle. She seems to know everybody. She must take this ferry a lot. But for some strange reason, she sneaks down to his car, and because she's angry about what had happened, I guess, breaks into his car and gets her lipstick out to write shithead on it or shit.
So she writes on the windshield from the inside of the car. She starts writing with her red lipstick. Like, first of all, come on, why are you gonna waste lipstick like that?
Yeah.
But she's like, what is the reasoning? Why would you want to do this? So she's in the car and she's writing this on the inside windshield, and all of a sudden it's like, she looks up.
Not even like
It's
that.
not even
Not
like that.
a-
It was
you're
more
giving it
like
more credit, yeah.
I know. It was like I'm trying to do the real what it
Yes.
should sound like,
Yeah.
but what it really sounded like in the movie was hee hee hee.
I can't wait to go back and see what the hell it really
It was
sounded
like
like.
such a ridiculous sound effect, and
Yeah.
like it's not like, okay, when you see somebody, like you're totally caught in the act, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Somebody caught you. Now we're thinking, okay, it's the guy who owns the car, and he's probably like, bitch, what are you doing in my car?
Except she responds to it, and and by the way, because this is one of these movies where it's like, who is the murderer? Everything's POV, and so we're following that guy's POV or person's POV into the car, and the person looks into the window and looks and sees shit and looks at her, and she's like responding like, "Oh, I'm sorry, the guy was a real jerk, and I just wanted to get revenge on him," and that's when the person gets in the car and she just moves over and then starts having a full conversation with him. Mm-hmm. Or with the person.
Or just explaining why she's in the car.
Yeah, and then for some reason she just forgets that she's a woman, so she starts spreading her legs, and then that person, the POV, pans down.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I know what we're setting up here.
And then she realizes it and is like, oh, maybe I'm a little creeped out. And that's when we hear it. Donald Duck attacks. So we get, like right off the bat, well, what the fuck?
Like for no reason. Like it was just so weird.
So this guy, he's talking to her like a duck while he pulls out a switchblade. We only see the hand has a glove, and we see the black trench coat arm, like usual. And we see the switchblade attack her. And of course, he's like again, the switchblades in this universe can gut.
It's
anybody.
like a Ginsu knife.
It just is insane, the stabbing. It's just crazy. There's like guts coming out of the wounds and stuff. And she's squeezed between the door of the car and the wall, so she can't get out. So she basically just falls back into the car dead. And then we get a scene where basically they have docked and now their cars are trying to leave. And for some strange reason, the guy who owns his car never came back. Right? But the people behind him are getting angry. They're like, move the car. Now, first off, they would see that no one's in the car.
Yeah.
Right. But somehow the car behind that car starts pushing it.
Yeah, and that
like it's in drive or something.
It would have to be in neutral to move that car.
Yeah.
So like, and nobody got out of their vehicle to investigate as to.
No one even cared. They just ram in it. Oh, we actually cut to a mortician. It's the stereotypical mortician, where he's like got the headphones on and he's not taking anything seriously. He basically says terrible things. He's like, oh, the body that we found, I guess the body was there and the dog got the hand, but the body must have been there too. Because he says, oh, he cut her from her fun trail.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, fuck, right off the bat.
First of all, who speaks like that? He's supposed to be a mortician. He's supposed to be like a medical professional. And he says they cut her from the fun trail? Okay, that's gross, first of all.
And he basically says terrible things. Like, he's just an asshole.
Yeah, he is.
And he's like, I have another victim. We've got another victim that also seems the same. And he's like, I would say that the person is killing women. And he's cutting them in a sexual way. It seems like something deviant. So he's like, I think you got a problem on your hands.
And they didn't even... So the police, after this happened, didn't even try and contact the driver or owner of that car?
They do. So yeah, that's why I stopped myself a minute ago. But yeah, the driver just, for some reason, is absent, which is also kind of strange. And you're like, what the fuck? Why is this a thing? So when the chief of police comes in, he's like, I don't know if he's the chief of police or whatever, but he says, why are you starting a panic? Why don't you just say it's the guy who owned the car? And he goes, that scared guy was in the toilet. And he's like,
That's
that
right,
kid,
they did say
that
that.
kid wouldn't hurt anybody. He's bawling.
That's right. Yeah, he was. That's right.
Yeah. So he's like, well, I don't want you to start a huge panic. I want you to finish this, but stop telling everybody to freak out. You know, all the city. We can't have everybody freaking out that there's a sex murderer. On the loose.
Yeah.
So,
But he is like, I mean, they should put it out there that he's, you should be careful. He's out there killing prostitutes.
yeah, absolutely. This is, again, the Jaws mayor. You know what? Calm it down. We got to make some money. Which is odd because it's New York City. It's like huge. And if there's like a bunch of murderers, you kind of should tell people. I don't really understand.
But shit happens in New York City all the time too. So it's like, okay, this is normal for New York City, right? And there's always somebody causing a ruckus out there.
And because this is a movie like this, layers upon layers. Because so much, this is one of those movies. And again, Giallo is a problem with this. There's so much plot that's unnecessary.
It's too much unnecessary dialogue.
It doesn't flow properly.
Yeah, we don't need all it. We we could just, say, hey, look, they started an investigation. The police he's the police chief, who's like chain smoking cliche. He starts an investigation.
But for some reason, now we establish a bunch of new characters. So we got a guy who's walking through the city, basically. Because they edit from the cops talking like there's a serial killer, they cut to a guy, which would suggest that this is the guy who's a killer.
Right.
And we see this guy, and he's like, I don't know how to explain him. He looks like I'm trying to think of somebody he reminds me of, but, he's like fit. He looks okay or whatever. But he goes into a sex store. It's not even a sex store. It's like a movie theater. This is crazy. It's a movie theater that has sex happening on a stage.
Yeah, so
which is prostitution.
Yeah, it
and
is.
I don't really understand how it's legal.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't even guess that would be legal at all because literally this is like a movie theater, but like with a stage. So there's no movie playing. It's two people
on stage just having sex.
On stage, on a bed, having sex in front of other people.
Yeah.
And it's so bizarre because like nobody in the theater is really reacting. They look dead.
And a lot of people are just bored.
Yeah, they look bored.
Except for one person.
There's this woman. She's in the theater. She's wearing this trench coat and a big floppy hat.
Think Carmen Sandiego, but like gray.
But she's very pretty ananyway.
She is pretty.
This actress.
Yeah, it's weird.
So she has these wet lips and she's sitting there watching this sex act on the stage, and she whips out this tape recorder and she's tape recording the sounds,
which you don't even know.
Yeah,
because it doesn't look like she pushes a button. She just strokes it.
She just kind of strokes it. Yeah, so you could tell if something is going on here with her emotions, and then it just goes right into full blown. She is playing with herself. She is definitely getting off on this.
We have
act.
to have a up close of her mouth, up close of her eyes.
Oh my god,
her thighs.
She's rubbing on her thighs.
She's got like lingerie on
under the trench coat, and she's sitting in the front row, and she's just definitely all into it. She's touching herself. This is like. I was like, wow, this is something that's happening.
I'm shocked. They're playing jazz during this.
They're playing jazz, and there's tons of men in the audience too, but there's nothing going on with the men. They look literally bored. Well, these two human beings, which I think they were absolutely 100% having real sex on that bed, they're just going at it, and the only person that's reacting is the woman in the trench coat, and she's there 1 minute, and then she's gone the next.
Well, yeah, that other guy that we followed in, he like is sitting there. He's watching her do what she's doing. Mm-hmm. I think that she's looking around, but for some reason she doesn't notice him.
Well, she's pretty involved in what she was doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then
and I guess the point out is this guy that we followed into the movie theater in the first place is missing 2 fingers on his hand.
Yeah, you know what he looks like? He looks like the Hispanic Tony Manero.
I was thinking
from
that too. I was
Saturday
trying to
Night
get
Fever.
to it. Yeah.
You know, Saturday Night Fever,
Yes, he does.
John Travolta. He kind of has that look, you know, with the shirt
Yeah,
hanging open.
absolutely.
You know, yeah, like that pompadour kind of hair. But I mean, it's kind of
I thought it was flat, but all right.
no, it's like a little poofed up in the front. He looks like Tony Manero. He just needs like a gold chain, but yeah, so that's what he looks like. And so after this whole thing, like the two actors, or are they actors? The two people having sex on the stage, well, they're done. And they get up and they put their robes on and they walk off the stage and they pan over to the woman. She's gone. Like she left.
Yeah, she left.
So the woman that was sitting in the
Oh,
audience.
actually, he's gone.
Yeah, and then she's gone too.
Yeah,
She
I think she
leaves.
gets up, but he's already gone.
But we don't see.
No, he doesn't get up.
No,
she does disappear.
she
he looks over and she's
disappears,
gone.
And yeah,
And then we follow the person on stage into the back room.
yeah, so this is interesting in so many ways and also very stupid. So she goes to her dressing room and tries to turn on the light, but the light doesn't go on. So what we have is like night vision, like green.
I couldn't tell what the hell we were supposed to be saying. Is it pitch black?
It was
Yeah.
supposed to be pitch black.
I
but
thought
for
it was the
some-
neon light from outside the window because it's New York and
It
they're
could have
someplace.
been.
I didn't know.
It was all green. It was weird. So she could see barely, you
Yeah.
know. But the light bulb is gone out of the light fixture, and so she looks up and she's like, "Oh, God damn it, Joe!"
That prick bastard Italian.
Joe! Joe!
Why can't you fix anything? And she starts screaming
She's like,
and whatever.
God damn you, idiot. I like when she walked into this room, by the way. She passed by another, one of the actors, I guess. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's an actor, just someone about to have sex. And she's like, how was the night? She's like, ugh.
How did it go?
She literally goes, eh.
But yeah, apparently Joe is the worst guy on the earth
Yeah.
because he doesn't change the light bulbs, apparently. I really don't know what's going on here. No. But yeah,
So she steps on broken glass.
she does.
And so she's in the dark trying to find some ointment for her foot.
Not only does she not open the door to get some light in,
Open the door.
or find another light source. This is the only light in this room. She has no other light source but her lighter. But the funniest thing is she hobbles across the room to get some ointment for her foot, which makes me think she can see.
Right.
But somehow when she hobbles back to take it out, she doesn't step on all the glass again. Like,
No, she doesn't. So it's like she knew it was there, obviously, but there's no light in this room. So this stupid broad is hopping around trying to find ointment for her foot. I'm like, okay, well, obviously we know she's going to die here. So
she takes the glass out and then she hears a rustle in her closet,
it's...
which is a giant closet.
Yeah, it's a big closet. She pulls back the curtain. It's actually a curtain. She pulls back the curtain and she gets...
Well,
oh my
first
God.
off, we hear... Well, what do we hear again?
Did I do it right?
I loved it.
Did I do it right?
And it's something like this.
I'm gonna kill you.
And-
So then she I mean you see her face and all of a sudden you just see like a bottle, like a cracked bottle coming at her from the closet, but not in her chest, not in her face, not in her throat, in her vagina. In
her JJ.
Vagina.
Her fun trail.
In her fun trail. Oh my God, that sounds awful.
I can't believe the guy said that in the opening. I was like,
Gets
what?
a broken bottle.
Yeah, right in the JJ.
her
And
vagina. And she, I mean, that's it. It was just blood everywhere. It was so gross. Okay, like they didn't show it in graphic detail because obviously it was too disturbing. But like, honestly, it was pitch black in the room too.
she dies like instantly.
Instantly.
She falls back and you could just see. And I didn't even know that's what happened until she fell back. And then I was like, oh, the blood was only there. And I was like, oh, did she just get stabbed in the gooch?
Yeah. I was like, yeah, that happened.
And you're like, yeah, it sure did.
Obviously, we're dealing with some kind of like depraved sex maniac.
Yeah.
And
And
he's doing nasty things.
Let's point out here what this scene seems to establish, right? We seem to follow the killer into this place and meet another woman, which would make you go, oh, one of the killers is these two people. Mm-hmm. But the guy was still sitting when we already went into the room. So that means the killer would have to already been in the room, which would mean the killer could only possibly be the woman or a character we haven't met yet.
Right.
This
We're
is
trying
one
to
of those
speculate,
movies. Right?
yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those movies where you're not tricking us by just establishing more and more people. you're just establishing that there's only a couple possibilities, and if you just thought about it for a second.
Right. And it's not, oh, I mean, it's usually never the most obvious choice. Like they try to,
Really?
I mean, Fulci has a thing where he likes to put people in like front and center and make us think that it's them, but it's not.
But again, that's what I'm saying right here. Like, there's no way. The only one it could have been was the woman. But we see that the person who stabs her is wearing a black coat.
Right, that's
and the
true.
woman's wearing gray. So we
Yeah.
automatically know it's none of these characters. And
Yeah.
also, by the way, I was trying to say that the one guy we followed into this movie theater who made us think that he was the killer has 2 fingers missing. And it's badly done in this weird prosthetic. It looks like these 2 nubs, like prosthetic nubs they put
Yeah.
on him. And it looks like clay. It looks really
Yeah, but
cheesy.
I mean, at least they tried this time.
True. But this person holding the bottle doesn't have a glove on. And it's clear as holding the bottle with a full, 5 fingers.
Yeah.
And same thing with the switchblade scene. This is a person has, can't be this guy,
Right.
So right off the bat, you're like, oh, this is just some weird establishing crap that we don't really even need. But the movie decides to do these scenes. And right after that murder, I believe we follow the Carmen. I'm going to call her Carmen Sandiego, the woman in the trench coat with the hat and the lingerie.
You know what's funny is I don't know any of the names.
I couldn't tell you. It's funny too because one of them said a lot. Like I was laughing about the old woman that said talks like a duck. They said her name a ton in the
Mrs.
opening.
Feingold or something.
Something like that. I knew. I was like, I'm going to remember that name because it's so interesting.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Weisberger. You've really been a great help, and I appreciate it no end. Now, if we need you again, we'll call, okay?
Yeah, but we follow her, and it turns out that she's married to a guy that looks like Paul Giamatti in bad colored hair.
Oh my gosh.
It's like they put white makeup in his beard and his hair.
Yeah, he does look like that. He
Yeah.
looks like Al Pacino today, but with prosthetics on.
Well, I feel bad for Paul Giamatti now. I was just joking.
No, like you know how Al Pacino he got heavy. So like it seems like they just
He doesn't look that old though.
no,
He looks
not
like a younger
really.
guy pretending to be older.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's why I kept saying Paul Giamatti. But it turns out he doesn't move. I don't think he does, but we see that he's listening to her tape and like having an orgasmic experience of some sort. He's listening to, and by the way, she recorded perfectly the sex and the jazz music. And I was like, there's no way that she recorded the sex over that music.
No way.
But it's perfect. And he's loving it. And apparently they're married, and this is the way that they get sexual, by listening to these or watching other sex acts. Because he takes the tape out and throws it into a drawer full of tapes.
Yeah, it seemed like they've been doing this a bit, like this is like their sexual, like I guess their fantasy or their vice or their sexual
guess.
vice, where like they, she goes and records this shit, and that's how they get off with each other.
Maybe
I don't
because
know.
This scene or these characters only seem to be establishing that one of these characters is a killer.
Right.
Again, like why else put this character in here?
Yeah, this woman is a little suspicious from minute one, though.
And now
She was
this
just
guy
weird.
is because he doesn't seem to get up, like he can't walk or something.
Yeah.
And then he tells her, "Find something to do tonight, because I've decided I have to do something else." And she's like, "I already made plans because I figured you weren't."
Yeah.
And then she's like, "Bye." And then that's when we see him throw the tape into the all the other tapes. Like he's got tons.
Right,
of
he's
them.
got tons of them.
So it's like, what? Okay, this is establishing some crazy stuff that this guy's into.
Yeah, but it doesn't go anywhere. I mean, really.
No, it doesn't. It's really odd. But again, it's just to establish that he might be a killer. Well, she goes out and she goes to a bar.
Oh, God. This is like the creepiest scene in the whole movie. I don't want to say creepy. This is the skeeviest out of everything that we've seen in this movie up until the very end. I was like literally just, ugh. I was clenching my teeth. I was like, ugh. So she goes to this bar, okay? So just try and picture this. She goes to this
Or don't.
shitty part of town. And there's a couple guys in there, and you could tell they're just grease balls.
It's during the day.
It's
bright
during the
light.
day, in the middle of the day, but they just look like grease balls. Like they just look nasty. Like they just got some nastiness going on. And so they're playing pool in there,
don't skip the best shot, which is she looks from one side of the room to the front. There's two guys playing pool across the way, and I think they're playing pool, and then they show her face, and she's just sitting there like stiff at this chair and a table, and then she zooms in over, and the shot is of just a guy's moose knuckle.
Oh my god!
It's a giant. It's just like a ball bulge.
I was like, okay, what is this
And the
broad doing
tightest
here?
pants ever, and that's the actual shot. It's just of that, and then when it scrolls over again, the other guy watching her is just licking at her.
It's so skeevy.
Yeah.
So the two guys playing pool, they just abandon their game and they go over and they sit with her.
She says she basically makes a face like she's into it when he's looking at her.
Right? Yeah, it gives like a little smirk, like a half smile. But that panned over shot of her looking at the freaking balls. I mean, how does that not hurt? First of all,
It looked like it
I
hurt.
mean, those
It was
pants
squeezing.
were squeezing the shit out of her. It was
Yeah.
awful. So this is the scene that made me just so. Ugh. So the two guys come and sit down with her at the table. And this guy is so, like, they're just making obscene gestures at her and stuff.
They
And
make a bet for a beer.
and make a bet for a beer. And the one guy sitting across from her takes his shoe off.
Because he says that the bet is, I bet she's not wearing any panties.
Yeah, that's the bet. So, what? First of all, what are you doing in this skeevy ass bar anyway? Obviously, there's something wrong with her.
No, because sexually she wants this to happen.
She does. She needs a little sexual excitement, I guess.
It's something. She
Who
gets
knows?
off on this weird stuff.
But this situation, this is a no for me. So she's sitting at the table, and the guy takes his shoe off, and he starts moving his foot up her leg, and into her underwear
Yeah.
with his fucking filthy toes.
His corn cobs.
Oh
go
my
right-
god, his nasty, sweaty, disgusting toes are in her vagina.
Yeah, well, yeah, and we actually get a camera shot of underneath her seat.
Oh my god.
It is
Who's doing this camera work?
wild,
I can't.
and of course the beer. He won the bet. And he's like, I lost the bet because she is wearing panties, but I don't know why she is because she's got enough hair down there.
Oh my god.
I was like,
it was
Jesus
just so creepy. And we
Christ.
do have to sit through another 3 minutes of him with his foot in her vagina.
And we had to keep seeing close up of this guy doing googly eyes, like he's so
Oh.
excited.
They were just gross.
Yeah, and then basically they say the one guy force feeds her some beer, and she's getting off. She's like stop, but then she's like basically do more, and then that's when they're like when she starts asking for more, that's when they're all like they ripped the table away, and she's like oh no, and she runs out.
That was a weird thing to do. It was a weird thing to do.
Honestly, because they have this girl.
Right, they have her, so why scare her off? So they
is
pull the
strange.
table out from her so everyone can see that his foot is in her vagina. And so she just runs out in terror. Like, really, that is what terrifies you? Not the fact that some stranger has his sweaty, funky, fungus-filled, nasty-ass toe jam in your vagina. But that's what bothers you? Like, I just, I was so skeeved, man. I was like, freak this movie. I can't. And Fulci, he's like this. He does, skeevy things like this in his films. So I was expecting some skeeve, but not that skeeve. Like, I couldn't even look at one point. I was like, oh God, they're showing it. Like, we got to see, like, it.
Yeah.
I'm like, nope, I'm out.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know if this is what happens next here. I'm just gonna guess because I know this does happen in the movie. But a guy working at the police station tells the main cop that he has gotten a phone call from somebody who talked like a duck, and of course the detective goes, talk like a duck. Where have I heard that before?
Guy with a strange voice. Said he called back. Sounded just like a duck.
Like a duck. Never heard that before.
And I was like, oh my God, the cops in these movies suck.
They're so...
Another woman told you during one of your victims that you were told that might be a killer, a serial killer on the loose. Talk like a duck. And you don't remember. I would never forget. He talked like a duck.
That's
What
just
does
not
that
something
mean?
that you forget at all.
Well, even funnier is that this main detective, he sleeps with prostitutes because he has a main prostitute named Kitty. And
Yeah, she's the bottom bitch.
Kitty wakes up, and she's like extremely young looking compared to this guy.
I mean, he just looks old.
I didn't know what was happening. I didn't even know she was a prostitute until it was told to us.
Make me some coffee, will you?
Sweetheart, I'm a prostitute, not your wife. You want coffee? You make it yourself.
Well, have you seen that man?
Yeah, but I was just like,
He needs
what?
he needs a prostitute. He's
So, yeah, the phone rings, and she picks it up, and she wakes him up, and she's like, hey, there's someone talking like a duck on the phone. And she's like, they're looking for you. And he's like, this is your house. Like, how would they know I'm here?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And he's like, what?
Hello.
Is Lieutenant Williams there?
Huh?
Is Lieutenant Williams there?
What are you saying?
Lieutenant Williams.
Just a minute, hold on.
And he picks up the phone, and she's like, is your name Detective blah, 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 blah? I don't remember his name now. But he's like, huh? And he grabs the phone, and that's when we hear him like, you're sleeping with your little prostitute. You know? And then he's like, what? Who the hell is this? She's like, I'm going to kill another girl. You know? And he's like, the hell's going on? And then he hangs up, and he's like, I'm watching you. So he's like, what the frig? He's
how
like,
would
who
he
did you
even
tell?
know that he was
Yeah.
there?
He's like, to the prostitute, he's like, Kitty, he's like, how did you, the woman of the night, I'm sorry.
Woman of the night.
He's like, did you tell anybody? And she's like, no. And he's like, are you sure? And she's like, no, I didn't tell anybody.
So how would they know that he was there? Well, great detective work, idiot.
Yeah.
Because he's following you, obviously, dummy. I mean, how else would he know?
Yeah?
Am I bothering you, William?
Who is this?
Tell the truth. You were shooting your load with that whore of yours, weren't you?
Who the hell are you?
Can't you guess, Williams? Now you got it, huh? Surprise! I gotta tell you something. It happened again. It happened again tonight. Oh, she was beautiful. Too beautiful. She asked for it and I gave it to her. But you wouldn't understand. You could never understand. You're too stupid.
The next scene jumps to some kind of wiretapping thing going on in the police station. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, but when do we meet the guy from the university?
Right after this.
Oh, okay.
I think. He's like, it's some kind of wiretapping because the guy's like, I've listened to all of your conversations with this killer. And I'm like, how?
How?
How many times have they talked?
Yeah.
We've only seen once.
Right. So how come when she said he's talking like a duck, he didn't react like, "Oh my God, I know this guy." Like we've been listening to his conversations forever. He didn't react like that.
No, he was shocked about it.
Yeah.
He didn't even know that someone knew, like anything. He hardly remembered the duck talk. And by the way, nobody reacts to this guy. They pretty much take this like it's normal.
Mm-hmm.
That there's a guy quacking and like pretending to be Donald Duck on the phone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they could have, in all fairness, they probably could have been like, "Oh, he's trying to disguise his voice or something," because
Yeah.
he doesn't want them to know who he is.
Yeah.
So I get that aspect, but Donald Duck, like,
But you
it's
think
just
that
like-
people would be like, I mean, it would be hard for me not to laugh.
Oh, I'd be cracking up.
See, you didn't say quack him up.
Oh,
I wouldn't by
I'd be
accident.
quacking up.
Yeah, but I would just think that one of these actors would be like, what? You're talking like Donald Duck? This is weird. No one even references Donald Duck.
No.
They don't say, this guy's talking like Donald Duck. They just keep saying he talks like a duck.
Yeah, that's all they say.
Oh.
But it's not even that he talks like a duck. He quacks, but then he has that weird little voice.
It's not even quacky. It's just not that.
Yeah.
But, of course, because this is a cop movie and this is one of those thrillers, the only possible solution to figure out who this killer is to go find a smart psychologist and team up with them. So he goes to a guy in a university. We just see this guy playing chess.
He's like a professor at a university.
Yeah, he's playing like electric chess. I remember this damn game when I was a kid. It was like this little chessboard, but it's computerized. And he's playing it in the university. I think he's sitting in the student seats, and he's just playing it by himself. And this guy looks like, to me, like Bradley Cooper in American Hustle with glasses. And I think this actor was also the father in House by the Cemetery, which I
Oh,
think is
that makes
another
sense.
Fulci film.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he goes in there and he goes up to the cop goes up to him and is like, "Hey, I need your help or whatever." And he's like, "This guy seems to know exactly what was about to happen," because he says, "Oh, another woman's gonna get killed."
Yeah, how does he know?
And then I was like, he didn't even start by saying that.
First of all, how does he have any knowledge of this? We were talking about this.
It
How
must be
does
in the
he...
news already that there's a killer.
Right, so how is he speculating? I mean, if this guy is a serial killer and has killed several already, yeah, he's gonna kill somebody else. So you're not making some startling revelation, you idiot. You know? Like, okay, thanks for that guidance. Like, what did this cop even come to him for?
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Well, he goes, how much does it pay? That's when he asks him, and he goes, I'm very busy. He's playing electric chess. I was like, what an asshole. And the cop doesn't even say to him, oh, you look busy.
Yeah.
He just goes along with it and it's like, well, you get some money. Whatever. We'll take care of you, whatever. And he makes jokes back to him, but they're not anything great,
Yeah.
But yeah, he basically says, give me all the stuff you have on this killer. And I'll look into it. And I'll help out. So they supply him with everything. And there's an odd scene for no reason that he grabs some like gay men magazines.
Okay, I need help with this. So this guy is introduced, and he's, being involved heavily with the case. This detective just automatically trusts him, and he's involved with this case. So he goes to a newsstand, and he buys a gay porn mag.
Yes.
And the guy at the newsstand seems to know him because he's like, okay, so you want this magazine, but you also want a newspaper. So he hides the gay porn
in the
newspaper. So, like, he knows the guy. Like, okay, yeah, wink, wink. Yeah. I understand you're trying, be discreet. And they never go back to that.
And again, I'm like, oh my God, this is him trying to establish another possible killer.
So what I thought immediately when I saw that magazine was that they're establishing that he's not a possibility because he's gay. So he's not going to perform sex acts on women.
But they're not performing sex acts. The murderer seems to be killing women brutally, like taking away their sex organs.
Well, that's true, but I mean,
so it's somebody who hates women.
Right. Well, we didn't know when we started this movie that's what was happening.
Well, no, because the right off the bat, the coroner's like, he stabbed her in the vagina.
Yeah, but then Tony Manero is having sex with them, so
yeah, but then like Tony Manero, he like disappears.
Yeah,
but
that's the guy who's missing two fingers.
Yes, well,
he was in the sex.
It's good to bring that
theater.
up. It's good to bring that up because we get now another scene of setting up more characters. We were on a subway where that guy with the no fingers shows up onto a subway car at night, of course, and of course it's a abandoned subway car with a young, pretty blonde sitting in the damn subway car for no reason by herself at night, and this guy's sitting a little ways away. We've seen this kind of scene so many times now, it's not even like special. But of course, because when the subway car moves, it goes dark for a minute, and he's like suddenly right in front of her.
Mm-hmm. Typical.
And she starts getting creeped out. This girl has killer eyes. They look like cat's eyes.
Yeah.
This actress.
She kind of looks like Reese Witherspoon, I think.
She, young version, like Freeway.
Yeah.
So she gets up and she's trying to get away. Of course, she can't get away, but right before he can like move in toward her, the door opens up and she runs out. And of course, because it's a killer movie, he just walks after her. And she's just like running, all crazy, running and running. She finally gets out to the street. She runs past the movie theater playing American Werewolf in London, and I was like, "Oh, good movie's playing." And then she keeps running, and all of a sudden she goes down an alley. And of course, this is the famous New York, New York City, where there's no one on the street.
Yeah,
that famous street.
Yeah, just like in Jason Takes Manhattan, where there's no one on the street except when he kicks the boombox.
I love when he kicks the boombox. Yeah. So she, of course, runs and runs. She finally gets up to this one place, and she stumbles on to the quacker. I'm going to call him the quacker.
Yeah.
The killer, I guess, is in front of her, but we saw that guy with the 2 fingers missing following her.
Yeah, but then he just like
He disappears.
Disappears, and it's now the quacker in front of her face, and he stabs her in the leg pretty bad.
He stabs her pretty bad. It shows it like slicing open her entire flesh.
Yeah.
And then one of my favorite things, he raises it up in the air, the switchblade to stab her, and hits the side of a wall, and it makes like a cling. Like it hits another sword. Like 2 swords are hitting each other. Like bing. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cheesy.
Yeah.
That is so bad. And she's able to get away. And he's like quacking his way after her. And she goes into a movie theater. And I just automatically was like, how did she get in here?
There's no people.
There's nobody working here. There's a movie. And by the way, it's playing the sounds of what I would call pure insanity. It sounds like it's playing Donald Duck cartoons with explosions and other sound effects. It's just madness.
I feel like they just went to the back room of the stock sound,
Of what?
footage. The stock sound.
It's like 80 different sounds put on top of each other.
And they just like ran them all together. That's what I think they did.
We don't see the screen ever. We only see her. She sits in an abandoned theater playing this insanity. No workers, so you didn't see any workers. She's not looking for anybody. She's not calling anybody. She's not screaming for help. Nope. She's just sitting there going, my leg.
There's no
where
people.
My stab wound is, right?
But then the best thing happens ever. But she decides to sit down.
When she's sitting down, she's just like gasping.
Take a little
for
rest.
her pain.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, the guy...
2 hands come
from underneath the seat. The guy is under the seat.
Between her legs. Grabbing at her vagina.
Grabbing at her while she's sitting there.
Her vajayjay's attacked.
Now, first of all, anyone who's a human being has been in a movie theater, okay? First of all, there's no way that a human can fit underneath the seat.
No, yeah.
Even in the old school 1980s theater seats, you're not fitting a body under there.
Yeah.
If someone's sitting there, you're just not doing it.
I just kept screaming, what? And there's no face. There's just arms and hands.
There's just arms. Like, it's like Chud. And so he's like grabbing at her. So she finally musters up the strength to scooch away and hobble away. And
into the alley. Yeah,
into
to
the
aisle.
alley. But the craziest
Not in
thing...
the alley. The aisles of the seats.
Yeah. Oh, the aisles of the seats. But then the craziest thing is, we see her get out of there.
No.
Right? Get out of that particular theater.
No.
And she goes through the doors. And when she goes through the doors, she sees another man.
No, she doesn't even get out of the theater. She runs into the aisle. And then all of a sudden there's a guy in front of her.
So the other guy that's in front of her, that's happening in theater?
Yeah, because the light is still coming. Like the light, projection light.
Okay, it looked like she went through the doors to get out of the theater, but he was standing there.
I don't remember. I thought he was standing in the light of the theater.
No,
because I automatically said, another killer?
No, she pushed the doors open and he was there, and he sliced her. It was some other guy, and we saw his face, and he was actually a decent looking guy. He wasn't the guy with the missing fingers at all.
No, and again, like I said, we knew that the guy with the missing fingers is not the killer because this is a person in a trench coat with gloves on and a switchblade and is quacking, and he was in front of her. And then we have we're guessing that the quacker guy got under her seat and is reaching between her legs. And when she runs out of off the seat, she runs into this other guy who now starts slashing at her. She seems to like recognize him and say like, "Oh, like I need help" or whatever. And then he just makes a face, like he squints his eyebrows, and he slashes her up with a straight razor.
Yeah.
And I said, what did she find? The one movie theater where every lunatic is in it?
Yeah.
Like, this is a new killer now?
I was like, this can't be right, because they're literally showing his face. I mean, we could see his face. So I was like, this is weird. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Who the hell is this guy? And then she wakes up screaming. And she's in the hospital.
She's in the hospital.
So apparently she did get away from the quacker. And she was in the hospital and her leg was all like bandaged up, whatever. And then we see...
We watched that guy in that apparent dream coming through the hospital, which is also that famous hospital that's abandoned during the day.
Oh, of course. There's like one nurse walking around.
Yeah.
And so he walks right in the door, and we're like, oh my God, that's the guy.
Well, he doesn't just walk. He passes the detective and the psychologist.
Oh yeah, you
in
don't
the
need
hallway.
to check in or
Yeah,
you know,
nobody's
nothing
watching
like
the
that.
door.
No.
Nobody's protecting her. And even funny. I gotta point this out too because this scene is just the way it's filmed is terrible. It doesn't look like a hospital room. It looks like an actual hotel room.
It does. Yeah.
And there's no glass. You can't see out. There's like just an actual door. And that guy who walks past the guy we saw in the dream, he starts, I guess, trying to open the door. For some reason, it's taking him a very long time. She's watching the doorknob slowly like move, but not actually like opening. Like someone's picking a lock.
It was one of those stupid
It's supposed to be
horror
a hospital
tropes.
room.
But like when you can hear the killer is like slowly turning the knob and there's a suspense building.
I guess.
It was like that. And I was like, oh come on, we've seen his face already. There is no suspense here.
There's no suspense, and there's like, it's just like, does this killer not know how to open a door?
I know it was ridiculous. It was like the longest drawn out door opening I've ever seen in a movie. And so he finally gets the freaking door open, and she looks at him, and her eyes widen, and she's like, "Darling."
Yeah, he's like,
Literally,
oh, sweetheart.
darling. Yes. So this is her boyfriend,
Mhm.
and she had a nightmare about him slashing her up. I was like,
Which he tells him.
uh-huh.
She says to him, I have to tell you something. He goes, no, you don't. And she's like, no, I really have to tell you something. And he's like, come on now.
Yeah,
and then
he
she
could care
finally,
less.
she finally says, no, I have to tell you that when after I got attacked, I had a dream about it, and you killed me. You had a razor and you started killing me. You were the killer.
Yep.
And he's like, huh.
Yeah, he was like so not interested.
I think he
in anything.
smiles and they like cut away.
Yeah, he kind of like blows it off like, your dream is crazy.
I was like, oh man, Fulci, how many characters have we gotten already that I don't even know how they attach to each other?
Right. So I was like, oh God. So we're like more than halfway through at this point, and they introduced this new guy. And I was like, oh Lord. So this woman's name is Faye, and they say it a lot in the movie. So we see her, she gets released from the hospital finally, and she is brought back to her boyfriend's house. And I guess that's where he wants to take care of her or whatever. So out of nowhere though, weird things start to happen. Like he goes out? Am I missing something?
No, he's really nice there. He puts her in like they have a huge place.
Yeah, no,
It's like a big
it's
place.
not her place, it's his place. And
Oh,
so
okay.
it's like crazy. It's like an artist's
Has
loft.
she not been there before?
She acts like she hasn't. That's
Yeah,
what's so weird.
That's why I was confused. I actually thought she lived there.
That's what I'm saying is so weird. So like
He puts her on some pillows and he's like, I'm gonna go out because I have to do something for work. But I'll be right back. Right?
Yeah.
And then that's all of a sudden she starts realizing, huh. I feel weird about this, so I'm gonna go and search the house.
Okay, so can we just talk about this house first of all? It looks like from the outside a townhome.
Yes.
Like something like that. And inside are steps. So there's steps going upstairs, and then when you get upstairs, there's another row of steps.
Yeah.
It's weird as fuck.
It's
I'm like,
odd. It
what-
looks like it's abandoned and it's like cobwebs
yes,
everywhere.
yes. No, having two sets of steps in a house is not weird. What is weird is the fact that the third layer of the house seems like somebody set fire to it or something.
It just looks like
It was-
extremely old.
Yeah.
Like not taken care of.
It was weird. So she gets up there and she finds this red door, which
It's a
is
red door, which
yeah.
automatically is like a sign.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now, mind you, this door is not locked. It's not. And he left her alone in his house. She's just like, okay, what is going on here? It seemed like it was like the first time she's ever been there. So she opens the door and there's...
You know, we jumped way too far.
You think so?
Yeah, because I remember now why we had to establish other things. Yeah, this leads to a scene. Yeah. She's in a hospital room. We just established that that she has a boyfriend, and we're like, oh, more characters. But now we basically cut back to the Carmen Sandiego character, and I don't know how it happened, but she hooks up with the two finger guys missing, the missing finger guy.
Okay, well, let me just say that we don't ever get to see how she hooks up with him, but she's just in the car with him, paying him cash. So they don't establish how they came to be together.
Yeah.
They just...
She's paying a guy for sex.
Well,
which
yeah.
is wild.
Why would
Because
this...
she's very pretty.
Yeah,
I don't
why would
understand why this is happening, but he ties her up on the bed naked, and he gets and he starts like fooling around with her legs and stuff, and then he stops, and then he goes and talks on the phone, and she's like, "What the fuck?" And we hear him saying things like, "Yeah, this is the kind of girl you're looking for. She's all into weird stuff."
Yeah, so, like,
And
who are
she's
you
like,
calling?
Weird, you know? And I guess they're like, the cops have now talked to, they're trying to get it out there, like, alert everybody that, yeah, how did, oh, yeah, because the girl got attacked in the subway, she told them, and this is a great line that just did not make sense to me. Apparently, they picked out a guy in a mugshot that was missing 2 fingers.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, how would they even come to this conclusion? Like, how would they even find a picture to show her?
Right.
Like, I don't remember her seeing the 2 fingers missing.
No,
I guess she did.
Well, she did because he grabbed the railing.
That's right.
On the subway.
I made sure to shove it in her face that I have no fingers here.
Yeah.
That's right.
So yeah, she knew that.
She's like, no fingers, and I guess they had a whole folder of no fingered people, and she's like, that's the one. They didn't show any of that scene. They just told us.
A whole folder full of no finger people.
It's like, which one of these no finger people is it?
Oh my god.
So yeah, they now put out on the radio, they have a DJ on the radio, the worst person ever to deliver this dialogue. He basically, he gets off the phone. I guess he had sex with a woman, but left her tied up while he's sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
And the radio guy, the DJ, now gets on the radio. He's like, "Hey, everybody out there, woohoo!" And he's like, "Just so you know, stay away from guys missing 2 fingers, girls. We don't want any more slashed up women in the town."
Don't you dare touch that dial. This is Big Phil Burrows, everybody. I'm gonna cry, whip, and wail. Plus, I got 1,000 messages for y'all. But first of all, I want to ask that dude with 2 fingers missing on his right hand a big question. Man, why, baby? Please, leave the ladies alone. Ripper, leave them alone.
Yeah.
I was like,
who
wow,
says
this
that?
is the smooth jazz guy telling everybody about a serial killer.
Who does that? Who delivers that kind of news like that in that fashion? So
wild.
Nonchalant and cavalier. Yeah. It's like, oh my god. Well, we see after this whole thing.
Well,
like,
she hears it on the radio.
She hears it on the radio, and she, she unties the knot with her mouth that she's tied up, and then so she gets her coat and she runs out of there. But for some reason, this dumb broad cannot find the freaking exit. She's pounding on the elevator door.
She knocks on it like it's a door that opens for her.
I'm very confused by this. And then she tries to go to another exit door, and she can't get through.
She runs into a mirror in the end of a hallway.
Yeah.
I didn't understand what that was.
There's nowhere to go. Like, what is this place?
Yeah.
So she couldn't get out. So obviously, Quackers is there. She turns around and she gets freaking run through up from her vagina all the way up and stabbed in the neck, and she's donezo. And I'm just in shock because, like, literally this is the dumbest woman on earth.
Yeah, there's a whole sequence here where she stands in the doorway because the door is slowly opening and creaking, and she's afraid that he's going to wake up because she thinks he's the killer.
Yeah.
And she just stands at the doorway instead of running.
Right, there's no suspense in this particular scene because we know exactly what's going to happen to her because she's so dumb.
Yeah, and like you said, she's murdered.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I should point this out that while it sounds like grotesque what we're talking about, it's done in a way where it seems really cartoonish.
Yes.
Like the gore is just so out of control.
Yes.
And it's a switchblade and it's just slicing them open like you're cutting a
piece of ham.
Yeah, just full on, like you're splitting a chicken breast.
Yeah, it's kind of comical. I mean,
it's just so wild when it happens, and like, come on.
Yes, but I will say this for Fulci. This has come a long way since Zombie 3. It has with the makeup.
The gore here is
Yes,
better.
it is.
The
Yes.
prosthetic, the no finger guy, that looks terrible.
That looks terrible, but the gore here, at least they're using realistic looking blood. I mean, in the other movies that he's done, it's like always looked like paint. It was terrible.
Yeah.
And in this, they're actually showing
I guess you're right,
something.
yeah.
So you got to give him credit for that he's actually come up a bit in this one from the 70s to the 80s.
Yeah.
He's definitely come up in the gore department.
We know that the killer isn't the guy with the fingers. We already knew that anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And now that this woman is set up to have been not, she's like, seems like, are they setting her for the killer? Now she's out of the picture. She's dead.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they basically say, oh, he was there in the room with her because the hotel room. So they go and try. This is another terrible shot. They for some reason they go to a house where a woman, we just hear her talking about, oh my God, he hasn't paid. And there's like sex stuff all over the walls in this room. Apparently this is his place.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess this is his girlfriend.
That's his like part-time girlfriend.
Whoever it is. And we get to watch this through a point of view shot of a hand just trashing things. Like this is supposed to be like someone searching the house.
Yeah.
To see, like, to find anything that could help them on the case. But all this hand is doing is just jostling everything in the room.
Yeah, and I feel like, this is not a good directing choice for Fulci. I feel like
so
it's jarring and it's odd.
Especially since the whole point of view has been used for the killer.
Exactly.
This would suggest that whoever's behind this hand is the killer.
Right, so that would mean, who was it, a cop?
It's one of the cops. It's just like this one random cop. And it's so odd because the hand did not match the person it was because he was not a white person. So the hand was a white person. It was like, what is this?
The only one that could be left is the one that we already assumed. So now we're cutting back to Faye.
What happens is basically they put out a bulletin about the two-finger guy and that he's the killer and to be on the lookout for him.
Mm-hmm.
And since she's now searching the house, she goes up to the red door. Now, while she's going in this red door room, we see the two-finger. I keep saying two-finger guy, but he's like missing 2 fingers.
Let's just call him
the 3-finger
Tony
man.
Manero.
Yeah. You killed my father, prepare to die.
Oh no, it's Inigo Montoya.
So we see the hand break the window out downstairs and reach in and unlock the window, and we know that he's breaking in to come and get her.
Right, but she finds this
Which is
room.
fun. Like, how does he know where she is? Because apparently it's not her house.
Exactly. It's not her house at all. So how would he know that she's there at all? And unless he was following her.
Yeah, maybe. And then because she was just brought there, and she's supposed to have a heart leg, but she has now climbed all these stairs, got in this room. When she opens the red door, it's like a child's room with dolls everywhere.
I mean, the creepy dolls, like the kind of like old style Victorian dolls that come to life and kill you in your sleep, those kind. That's what's in the room. So I'm like, what the fuck is this? This guy's some kind of like pedophile or pervert or
it's weird
or something's wrong with him.
Well, she finds like a hospital record, and she's like looking at the hospital. She's like, oh, what's this hospital record? But that guy comes in to get her.
Yeah.
And now like the guy starts attacking her. She screams. And then we see that the boyfriend is outside and hears her scream and runs into the house. Gets all the way upstairs. He figures out that she's upstairs in the room.
Mm-hmm.
So he runs up, and him and the 3-finger guy collide.
Going up the stairs. So the boyfriend's now knocked unconscious at the bottom of the stairs because he gets hit.
Yeah.
And the missing fingers guy
just runs out.
He gets away. He runs away. This movie.
And then we get like a scene of like the cops talking to him. He's like, where were you guys? And he's like, where did you go? Why did you leave your girlfriend?
No, where did he
and he's
go?
Like, I had something to do. You guys held me up at a checkpoint.
Yeah, okay.
And he's like, you guys are the worst. And I gotta admit, the cops are terrible.
The cops are the worst ever. But this, like, okay, they never even elaborate on, first of all, where did the boyfriend go? Where? And then why did he get held up at a checkpoint?
Yeah.
Why isn't someone guarding this woman who literally was just attacked a minute ago?
Yeah.
Like, what is wrong with these cops?
And we know that she has found this room and that she found some kind of weird doctor note thing. And whatever, because now we just get a scene of A woman, we don't know, coming into a room and looking at a table in what looks like the college again, and a whole table full of pictures of the dead women. And she's kind of going through it, and the camera shot is behind her, and then we know someone comes behind her and says something like, "You're next," or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she like startled, and it's the psychologist, and he's like joking. He's like, so you came in here and going through my stuff, huh?" And she's like, "Oh, I was just like whatever. Well, I was wondering what you think. What do you think that the killer is? Like, well, who do you think he is?" And he starts explaining it to her, and he's like, "I would say he's intelligent, but I don't think he is." And she goes, "Why not?" And he goes, "Because he hasn't killed you yet."
I mean, first of all, this guy is supposed to be a professor at this university, and
He's a student.
he's a smart guy, and he says this to this girl. Like, I know why they did that. They wanted to,
They're trying
throw
to
him
throw
into
us
the
off, yeah.
suspect ring. Like he's obviously a suspect because he's saying fucked up shit. So all right, so put him in the ring with the other suspects. It just doesn't make any sense at all. And
Well, he like talks about the killer like he's complimenting him.
Mhm.
Oh, he's like, oh, this and this and this, and he's been through this. He's really intelligent. He must have a really good profession. And basically, like, could be talking about himself. And since you've seen these things like Hannibal, all that kind of stuff, that could be the potential killer.
Well, yeah, because when the
But-
cop first recruited him, I was like, okay, you're a detective. There are no other detectives in the precinct.
That's what I'm saying. What does a detective do? Like,
Why are you calling this university guy? Why? Because he plays chess on a freaking mechanical board? Like, what is the reasoning? Because he's a forensic, what do you call it? Like a pathologist? Or I don't know what
who
the fuck
knows?
he is. But like, why are you don't have any other detectives on your squad that you have to call in this idiot? It makes no sense. So that's why I was like, okay, automatically, this guy's a friggin' suspect. He is. He's a suspect. And right under his nose, the cop's nose, this guy's killing people.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah,
That's
that's,
what I
what
was
the movie
saying.
thinks.
Movie wants you to think
Yeah,
that.
which is odd. And basically, he goes to interview this girl and her boyfriend, and he talks to him about his job. Like, the boyfriend has a good job. I think he's a bioengineer of some sort, doing some kind of paper on some kind of crazy science thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's very smart, you can tell. And apparently, he finds out that she also is a genius. And he's really interested in this. But the problem is, at the same time, the cops get a call from Quackers. And he's saying, he starts basically pushing the cop. But the cop's like, "I want to meet face to face," and all this stuff. And he's like, you should tell me all this stuff in face to face. And he's like, "Oh, that's funny." And he's like, "I'm going to kill another woman soon. Someone close to you, I think I'm going to kill." And he's like, "Oh, hold on the phone. And they're like, we got the signal. It's coming from this payphone over here near the docks."
Okay, yet another dumb cop move. First of all, they were tracing the call, but they instead of creeping up to the phone booth where this call is coming from, they used sirens. Lots and lots of sirens. It's like, why don't you just alert the killer to your presence, dummy?
Yeah.
So that way he could be gone by the time you get there.
It's like graffitied phone booths you can't see in it.
Yeah.
But you're like,
do you
the
really?
killer wouldn't do that. Why would the killer stay behind? So they kick open the phone booth, and he set up the payphone. Now, this is hilarious. He had set up the payphone with a walkie-talkie, right? Okay. You have to pay for a phone. You would have to put quarters in.
So he had to put. So how long?
How long? How many? Did he put in like 50 quarters? I don't know how long it took them to get across town to get to this damn thing.
No, but the phone was off the receiver, and the walkie-talkie was talking to them through the phone.
I don't remember if it was a collect call.
No.
It's a collect call from Quackers.
No.
So yeah, but here's the best part. He's so stupid. This cop. He goes. He basically already told him, "I'm probably going to kill somebody, a woman that you know, soon, right, or someone you care about." So then he didn't even pay attention to that, and now he's like, "Hey, I'm with hey detective. Now I'm basically with Kitty. You know Kitty? Your girl?" And then he's like, "What?" And then we see that he does have Kitty like tied up,
Naked.
on the bed, and then he's playing with a razor blade against her skin, and he's like, "Do you want to hear from Kitty?" And then he like takes off her tape on her mouth, and she screams as he's like dragging the razor blade on her body, and then he starts slicing her open, and that's when the cop goes and races to Kitty's apartment, and we get to watch him kill Kitty with a razor blade. Apparently, this razor blade with like, I don't know how much force he must be pushing into this woman, but he slices her nipple open.
It's so.
It does look fake, luckily, but you are getting really skeeved out.
Anything to do with the nips and stuff like that just skeeves me out. Like just if there's like a razor or a knife or something near the boob, like I don't know, I get skeeved out, even though I know it was fake.
Yeah.
I don't
well,
know.
Even worse, you couldn't look at this at all. He drags the razor blade down her forehead into her eyeball.
Yeah, the eyeballs are worse for
and
me.
It's a mannequin head, and they actually have like an animatronic eye moving back and forth. It's not animatronic. There's no way they had that much budget, but somehow they had like an eyeball on a stick. It doesn't look like it cuts open. We can't really see it, but it's definitely that's what's supposed to happen. Like the eyeball keeps moving. It's inventive enough. It actually looks decent.
I mean, yeah, this is better gore. I mean, for Fulci that we've seen thus far. I mean, this is the best gore, I would say. Better, like I guess. Well done gore. Yeah.
So you were talking about like this. He couldn't have killed Kitty in her house, and he's like, yeah, he did, because he gets in there, he finds Kitty,
and she's all sliced up. It's terrible, but like then we see our main girl, Faye. She's the one that got her leg sliced open or whatever.
Well.
And she found those papers for the Memorial Hospital.
Yeah. Well. Before that, though, the psychologist and the cop talk, and he tells her, the psychologist says, I found out that she is not only a genius, but she has been studied for having a delusional mind where she actually sees things that aren't there.
So that's where we're like, okay, what are they doing now at the 11th hour in this movie?
They're like, and he's like, well, I know you don't think I'm a smart cop, but I've had her tail this entire time.
Okay.
Yeah. And she goes basically on a walk. She goes on a walk, and she finds, because the boyfriend goes out again, and she flirts with him. Like, she's like, oh, hey, honey, and everything. They're so lovey-dovey. The moment he leaves, she's like stone face. She's like she was faking the whole time. Mm-hmm. Then she goes on a walk, and she goes back to the place where she was attacked, and she sees on the wall that it was hit by a knife, which is hilarious. And we get to hear it again. They double down on this terrible noise of bing, bing, hitting the rock with the switchblade, which is really funny. Okay, so she was attacked by the switchblade, it hit the wall, and it made a big spark or whatever it is. And she's like, it did happen. I didn't dream it. Because we're now establishing that she has some kind of delusional thing. Mm-hmm. And now she's like checking out if she's right. And that's what you were about to talk about. She goes to the hospital where the notes are. And now we get this really weird scene where at first we didn't know what the hell was happening. Where there's a little girl.
Yeah.
Almost comatose-like looking.
She looks like a zombie, and she's in the bed missing her right arm and her left leg.
Yeah. And a woman is reading, and then we see next to the bed is a Donald Duck.
It's not a Donald Duck. It's just a duck.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I thought it was Donald Duck.
No, it was one of those toy ducks